We've covered how the blocks are made, how the chunks are made, how the terrain is made, and how the structures are made. Now that the Minecraft world is complete, it's just missing one thing: us. When you first load into a world, a lot goes behind the scenes to make sure that spot is the perfect beginning to your adventure. You don't want to spawn inside of a block or you'll suffocate. You don't want to spawn above a block or you'll fall. You don't want to spawn underwater or you'll drown. You want to spawn on the ground or on a tree in a good starter biome. How does the game choose this spot? Unfortunately, it's not very well documented and some sources conflict. However, to the best of my understanding, this is how the spawn point works on both versions. On Java Edition, the game will look around a 21 by 21 block area centered on 00, the world's center, for a spawnable block such as the grass or leaves. It'll search for the highest possible valid block so as not to spawn the player in a cave. If there are no valid blocks, the player will spawn at 00 no matter what. You can actually see this when you choose the ocean biome for the floating world type. Because it doesn't spawn the water, all you get are occasional shipwrecks and ruins, and these are rare in the 21 by 21 area, so you spawn over the void and die. For Bedrock Edition, however, it's a little more random. Sources for exactly where the Bedrock default spawn are mixed. The Wiki saying it's at 00, while The Weekly Thing, a channel that specializes in documenting speedruns and speedrun strategies, says it is 44,4. Either way, the game starts at this position and continually increases the X position by 4 until it is in a valid spawn biome. These include plains, forests, dark oaks, taigas, jungles, and savannas. This means the spawn point can be very far from 00 in some instances. The spot it picks is a 5x5 radius, where a similar check to Java is made to see where to spawn the player. In both versions, this spawn point can be changed by each player to a bed in the overworld or a respawn anchor in the nether. You can also use the /spawn point command, but if a block gets placed in that spot or is it over air, it is ignored and the main spawn is used. Now over to Sharkbite.
So, now you know about how player spawns work, but what about mobs? The Minecraft world is brought to life by its various, generally cute voxel animals, and they are a very important source of food, transport, and items. Except for bats. Bats do nothing. All of the common animals have a very similar spawning behavior. For example, on Java Edition, chickens, pigs, sheep, and cows all spawn in groups of 4, but where exactly they appear is a little more complicated. Animals are first generated when loading new chunks, and then throughout the game, they continue spawning at a slower rate. There is a 1 in 10 chance for them to spawn during chunk loading, and the game begins its spawn attempt on the highest available block on a randomly picked 1x1 column. After it finds a suitable location, the engine finds another open block within a 9x9 area around the starting position, and if an animal can spawn there, it will. Then, the second position becomes the starting position, and the process is repeated until the chunk has at least attempted to spawn as many animals as are in a herd of that animal. Now, before we wrap up, let's take a look at everyone's favorite animal, cows. Cows are, of course, generated in herds, and the 4 cows in a herd must all be spawned on grass blocks, and in a similar way to how player spawns attempt to be at the highest spawnable block, the game will also try not to generate underground cow societies by preventing them from spawning in low light levels and with blocks above them. Actually, most of the animals in the game work in about the same way, and because this section is getting a little long, I'd like to encourage you to check out the Minecraft Wiki articles on the different specific animals if you want more detailed info about them.
Monsters. They're a huge part of what makes Minecraft a compelling survival game, and they provide a lot of the challenge. Zombies, skeletons, creepers, spiders, witches, and jockeys make up the common monsters in the game, and are spawned in a very similar way to common animals, with a few key differences, one of which is their ability to generate underground. Monsters use the same engine to determine spawn attempts, but ignore the Y level of the picked block. And most monsters, other than Endermen, don't require headroom to spawn, like cows. This means that creepers can actually spawn under trapdoors, as they aren't very tall. Another key difference is that the game tries to spawn monsters on every single game tick, which will have an episode on its own, but basically, it's just every 20th of a second. Monsters spawn in groups much less often than animals, and only zombies, endermen, and skeleton generate in herds. Though it can seem boring and can be easily overlooked, how and where players Animals and even monster spawn can not only be interesting, but useful. Some episodes on this series are about obvious things such as the terrain generation or the chunk interactions, while some are surprising just how interesting they turn out to be. That's why we started this series, and we hope you enjoy it and anticipate future episodes. They come out every Friday at 3 p.m. Central Time, and it would make our day if you could watch them live. If you liked this video, maybe consider subscribing. Awesome Player 98
And Sharkbite out.